So I had to ask Emma what she thought of the outfits, my wife. So she gave me the all clear.
I know it's mental, isn't it? Because I think when people look at us three, they think I'm the youngest, but I'm actually the oldest out of us three, aren't I?
Not a fan of going into gyms and, struggling to get on the machinery and people taking selfies of themselves and stuff. I want to get in there. I want to get it done.
I think we're struggling for a little bit of identity, aren't we? We're giving fitness tips on one thing, then we're endorsing beers. We haven't got a clear identity at the moment, have we? No one knows what we are. Then I think there's also the funny ones who are the ones without being disrespectful. I think it's too short plans.
Called it Shelby. And then after a couple of weeks, you just knew he had just made a mistake. A lot of the stuff which happens in the dressing room as well, like we think is normal, but if it happens in the normal world, it'd be wow, like what is going on?
In that context, it's childish, pathetic. Would never, even though those thoughts sometimes do go through your head, you don't do it.
Come back to your room, you'd walk in and there'd be nothing in your room. I mean, nothing, not one thing. You'd look out the window, mate, and your room is set up perfectly on the grass outside.
Dave, you're involved today? And he was like, yeah, like back in the fold and all that, brilliant. And he went, yep, you're doing the half-time draw. Right, we are recording now. Welcome everybody to another episode of In the Sticks. I'm here with Dave and Gav. You all right, Dave?
I'm very well, thank you. Very well.
Right,
yeah, really well. Really well.
I thought Gav was doing his pretending that would froze again. Now.
No, it goes on the radio, doesn't it? So it's in the.
Oh my God, are you joking me? Get out! I've just said I'm starting the podcast. Get out!
Start again.
Don't speak to Holly like that.
Yeah, okay. That wasn't Holly. Get out!
You've got to keep it in.
That's Hugo's banner. Thing is, what he's doing on the way out. Yeah, he's not brave enough to keep the lights off. I'd have respected him more if he turned the lights off and left them off. But he turned them off and then he had a little panic and come back in, just because he knows who's boss. Yeah. If he kept the lights off on the way out, I would have had more respect for him. So I'm disappointed in him.
So for anyone who's not watching this, Sam, explain what's just happened.
Sorry, yeah.
Sam's eldest boy has just come in, and Sam's obviously told him to stay out. So Sam's had a paddy, but then he's switched the lights off in a rebellious sort of fashion. But then very quickly realised probably better.
He's panicked and put them back on, hasn't he? Just before we get started on the main body of the podcast, obviously, because we're trying to keep it current for our listeners, we've all been to football this weekend, haven't we? I went to Everton Bournemouth. Gavin, you went to QPR Luton, and Dave, you were commentating for Sky Sports on Wolves Forest. Dave, do you want to start us off, Dave? Give us a little rundown of your experience there.
Yeah, it was good. I took my lad and my nephew as well. They were desperate to go and watch Wolves. So
even though you're commentating,
yeah. So they came up in the car. My nephew's a little bit older, so he took Jack into the away end and stuff. Yeah, it's good. Brilliant. I had to do a little bit of the big match build up on Sky Sports News before the game at 2:30. So it's always a bit of a rush if you do that because you have 10 minutes pitch side. Where you kind of talk about the game and things like that, but then I've got to be up on the gantry by 2:50. So then, but you have to, for the gantry at Forest, it's a nightmare. You have to go right up through the Forest fans, which isn't ideal. And then the gantry's a little bit tight, old, rickety, but it's got to be one of
those. Any pet names for you, Dave? You've got any pet names for you when you walk
Not that I can say on here, mate.
How much consideration do you give to? Because you're going to be live on Sky Sports. So what are you thinking when you getting dressed? Are you like, Emma, what should I wear? Should I wear chinos or whatever? It's like if I wear chinos and I sit in some chocolate, I'm knackered. Like what?
Usually when I'm commentating, I'm not usually sort of on screen for when I do the Premier League games. So I'm not usually that bothered, but I knew I was going to be on Sky Sports News before the game. So I had to ask Emma what she thought of the outfits, my wife. So she gave me the all clear. So I went for some blue chinos and a quarter zip. That's my standard.
That's your go-to, isn't it?
Yeah.
Chinos and a quarter zip. That's Dave Edwards all over, isn't it?
Yeah. So,
brilliant.
Not getting negative feedback from that.
The game was really good though. Really entertaining game. Wolves, it's their first point of the season. They didn't want to go into international break without a point, so it's a good point for them. They played really well. I think they played well in all the games this year. But they got your team, Newcastle, when they come back. So got a ridiculously tough start. Wolves, our first 9 games are just mental. So they just need to try and pick up points where they can. But it's a good day. It's a good day. But you at Everton, carnage.
Pardon?
You at Everton, carnage.
Yeah, mental. I mean, Everton, brilliant. I was watching the game with Hector, and I'm like, oh my goodness, Everton be mid-table. Yeah, they're so good. The number 10 made his debut. I think it was NDI, was brilliant. Number 42, I don't know what his surname was, but he's called Tim. Like English centre mid, brilliant, young lad, brilliant. Then absolute all went crazy last 5 minutes. Bournemouth did nothing, and then it's the latest comeback. Oh, this is probably another one of these things that'll definitely not be right. It's the latest comeback in Premier League history. I don't know if that even makes sense. But that's what I heard on Match of the Day.
2-goal deficit.
From a 2-goal deficit. Thank you, Dave. You should work for Sky Sports.
Nice.
You went on Friday to see the hoops, Super Hoops.
Yeah, me and my boyhood team, QPR, my youngest boy, for his sins, he still follows QPR as well. So he was desperate to go sell out. Obviously, it's 12,000 capacity there, so absolute sellout every week, I think. So we managed to get some tickets, and brilliant. Obviously, as a QPR supporter, but sort of Rob Edwards.
Your mate, manager, though, isn't he?
Yeah. So he sort of looked after us a little bit, really, which was brilliant. So I was a little bit in a QPR camp, but also desperate for him to do well. Luton are just suffering from a little bit of a hangover from the Premier League, I think. I think it's like, as you said there, I think QPR for the first 5-10 minutes looked really strong, and then Luton just completely took over the game, like streets ahead in terms of their game strategy, all over QPR. Should have been 3-4 at half time. And then you could just sense that QPR sort of got a little bit in a state of like, actually it might be our day. We've got away with one there, and they came strong second half. And you could just see that Luton were almost suffering from that hangover from the Premier League. And it's one of them where it's more of a psychological thing. There's nothing wrong with the players are the right players, the formation, the strategy, everything's right there. Their preparation, I'm sure, is perfect, knowing Robbers. And I just think psychologically they're just suffering. It's tough being a player when you've had such a good season. They call it second season syndrome, don't they? And I think they're suffering a little bit from that, but they'll come out of it. 100%, they'll come out of it.
Yeah, I watched them. I commentated on them the week before when they lost to Portsmouth, and it just feels like everything's going against them, doesn't it? Because in that game, the goalkeeper sent off after 20 minutes, and they could have been 3-0 up by that point, and it just changed the game completely. So they'll get through it, though.
The way they play is so refreshing, brilliant to watch, but not just good to watch with no end product. They were really, really dominant, and it's hard for me to say as a QPR supporter, but yeah, Super Hoops 1-2-1. We were really pleased, but also a bit of that horrible feeling in the bottom of your stomach for Rob.
It's a good summary, Gav. You should work the Sky with Dave. I've just noticed on StreamYard.
I did think that. I was waiting for Dave to tap me up, but not yet.
Is it like we should do this live? I've just noticed there's a live thing on here, so we'd be able to doing a live one would be brilliant, and people could put comments on. Like
nice.
You just have your family walking in your kitchen every 2 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, right. I'm just going to say
screen and all that.
Obviously, I know you two obviously part-time workers, aren't you? But I'm back full-time September now, isn't it? Back at work, so summer's officially over for me. So I was just thinking, obviously, I'm trying to get into a bit of routine, a little bit of fitness, because I've had an all-inclusive holiday. I always had a few nights out and stuff and been eating well. So I'm carrying a little bit of extra padding around the midriff that I'm going to shift before my next holiday. So I just want to speak to you two about what you two have been up to fitness-wise then. So it's a bit harder. I think you'll admit it's a bit harder when you get older. I know, and it's mental, isn't it? Because I think when people look at us three, they think I'm the youngest, but I'm actually the oldest out of us three, aren't I?
No one said that.
Considerably.
No, there's a lot, honestly, get a lot. In fact, someone just put it in the comments now, you look really young, Sam, compared to Dave and Gav. All right. A quick message there.
Okay.
Well, what have you been up to then, Gav? What are you looking like at the moment, Gav? Are you in good nick, or you need to lose a little bit? What's your thoughts?
We were saying a little bit off air, weren't we? We were saying I feel I'm quite consistent with what I do. So I think my biggest thing is it's like I won't necessarily go into the gym and have a massive blowout and then you won't see me there for 5, 6, 7, 8 days. I'm really consistent. So I have a good half an hour, 40 minutes in the gym, probably 4 times a week. That can be cardio, can be some weights. and I have always been, as you know, like quite particular with my diet. So I suppose, quite fortunate that I have a tendency to be consistent, but I could be so much better. And as you said there, you know, we've been a little bit out of our routine. Kids been 6-week holidays, back at football now. There's not a lot of time to try and prepare. There's not a lot of, there's so many times I do want to. Just looked in the comments section there. Dave Edwards, Sam looks the oldest. Sorry, oldish Dave, but brilliant. Yeah, just I don't know.
I've got to answer that question in the comments. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, mostly free weights, mate. Yeah. Biceps, triceps, and chest. Yeah, mate. Yeah. No, sorry. I got asked the question in the comments there. So.
My thing's consistency. I try and mix it up with cardio. I try and like, as you can tell, lots of weights. But yeah, it's hard, isn't it? We're just saying that. I love it when we have discussions about it because it's a constant battle. I'm constantly at battle with myself to get in the gym, to do something. You know, the other morning I'd not gone into the gym because we'd had a particularly long day. And I was like, I'll get in the gym.
You've turned your garage into a gym then, have you?
Yeah, sorry. So I've turned my garage into a gym just because I'm not a fan of going into gyms and, struggling to get on the machinery and people taking selfies of themselves and stuff. I want to get in there. I want to get it done. I want to just get it bashed out. So for me, I'm like, get it in the garage, get in there. I almost like, I like it when it's cold. I like it when pick up the weights and your hands are burning, the ice burn. I like to suffer in there and just get in and get out. That's like, my mentality is, like, really nasty, get in there, be really brutal, and then get back out again. And if I've done that, I'm all right. If I don't, sometimes I don't even have the best session. I've just gone in there and just suffered a little bit. And I don't know. So that gets me going.
Physical.
Yeah, definitely mental. Yeah.
I know Dave's routine a little bit because me and Dave are fully invested in the shred fast, aren't we? It's a little bit different because I do it every day. Dave does it 3 times a week. But anyway, that doesn't really matter too much.
Shred fast. Are you just tagging each other in, or am I allowed to get involved? Because I know you're new onto the scene, Sam, but I've not been as vocal as you. But I've been on it for like 6 months as well.
Have you?
Have you really?
Mate, you got the receipt?
Yeah, get the receipt. Yeah. No, I subscribed, Dave, about 4
high intensity stuff
when you were speaking about it, and I haven't been doing it 3 times a week, but yeah, I'll do 1 a week definitely.
We need to get on it to get a good way of keeping fit. Obviously, is challenging each other and pushing each other a little bit. Like even when Dave's messaged me and said, like, "Have you done your shred fast yet?" I'm like, I need to do that. I need to do it.
I got a good way to do it. I've got I'm not an ambassador for these guys or anything, but the Whoop bands. You see them? Like a 24/7 health thing.
Can we tag Whoop in it and see if we can get a sort of free band?
But they become ridiculously popular now. Like all the top footballers wear them and they train in them and all that sort of stuff. All about your recovery, your sleep, and your exercise. But anyway, there's I did it with some lads from Bala last year because we were going to Ibiza, and you can put you can make a group up, and every day it tells you who's had the most strain, who's recovered the best, who's done that, and it gets quite competitive. You can see what everyone's done exercise wise. So I think us 3 should get on that.
There's a little insight in the footballer's mentality, isn't it? Like lower league footballers, where it's like we all got Whoop bands, not to get fit and improve performance because we're going to Ibiza, so we want to get in shape. we want to get in shape for Ibiza.
I can't imagine wanting to do it for any other reason, if I'm honest.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, we've said it before, haven't we? I used to start hitting the gym from March. Like that was it. Yeah. And like people say, you haven't been in the gym much, Sam. I was like, there's no point in being in the gym now, isn't it? It's in the season. Like I'm not going on holiday. It's raining, isn't it? I'm going to be in the summer. I'm going to be top off all night, so I need to look my best.
Yeah.
Someone said I might not be football.
Not bothered.
Anyway, let's talk on anyway. So in terms of fitness, we're all going to try and keep on top of it, and I think it's quite good for other people our age to our age or like in a similar generation to us to realize that it is difficult, isn't it, trying to keep fit all the time, and we're exactly the same as everyone else. You can probably smell it. I've just cooked about 20 kilograms of mince for the week for the next 3 days to put in. When you put them in little pots. I know it looks a bit embarrassing, but I've done like bulk cooking to try and have like healthy meals when I'm at work. Is that a bit embarrassing?
No, it's
It's
good.
good.
It's good though, isn't it?
Food's the main
If
thing.
you'd have told me that 15 years ago, I'd have absolutely hammered you. I'd have been, oh, you're busy, you're this, you're that. Whereas now I'm like, brilliant. Like, get prepared. Like, get on top of it. Like, it's going to save you however long in the morning. You know you can go to bed. You know everything's boxed off. Get your clothes ready for the next day. All the things that you're teaching your kids. You got to live it as well, haven't you? It's easy said than done, I know. But get your stuff ready the night before. Be prepared. Have your emails boxed off. Get all your food ready. Like that's the way forward, I think. I would have hammered myself.
I eat my lunch by 9:30. No, that's the thing when I'm starving at work. Though.
Spaghetti bolognese at 9:30.
Yeah, spaghetti bolognese at 9:30. Then I get into the chocolates and biscuits at 11. I come away and I'm like, I think I've done all right. So I've eaten some mince.
Love it.
Right. Anyway, I was going to have a we have a little chat. Oh, go on.
It's definitely delayed, Sam. You keep interrupting me. So it must be delayed. I've just put up the link for the Whoop band. I've just put up the link for the Whoop band. So you have to see if that's the right one, Dave.
Yeah, I will do. I do actually prefer us being in person as well, lads. This is online again, isn't it? So we'll definitely get back in the Stiffs HQ next week. It's just with the holidays, it's been hard work, isn't it?
It's difficult.
I'm talking about trying to lose weight and stuff. Got a real problem because I've bought some new beers, lads. I'm not trying to endorse them, but have you seen these Noam beers? Noam. Have you seen them yet?
No.
Listeners, get on them. They're incredible. Proper bottle of lager, really nice bottles. Best I've had. So I've got some of them. Are you being serious
here? Are you being serious?
Yes.
Or are we just grafting for sponsorship?
No, genuinely. No, just right. when you said there about Dave being in the Stiffs HQ, it just reminded me. I bought these bottles of this Noam, so I'd have to put your little fitness hit on hold for 5 minutes.
Yeah. Well, speaking about that, if we're not going to get sponsored by Noam, I've got some other ones as well, which I tried recently at a corporate golf day thing. They were doing them there, and it's called Skinny Lager, less calories. So that might be better for us, boys. It was nice as well, and Skinny Cider. It was good.
My mate he was trying to lose weight, so his wife bought him. You get like these a third of a pint cans, and we've got like obviously. So she bought them instead of a full pint, but he just drank 15 of them instead of having 5 beers. So it was. And I think we're struggling for a little bit of identity, aren't we? We're giving fitness tips on one thing, then we're endorsing beers. Like, we haven't got a clear identity at the moment, have we? No one knows what we are. Yeah. Someone says, "What are In the Stiffs? What are In the Stiffs podcast about?" I'm not really sure, to be honest.
And we're 60 minutes in, and we haven't spoke about our topic yet as well.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, that's a problem.
But I thought it'd be quite funny, keep it quite light-hearted. Because I think I don't know about you lot, but obviously I'm back at work, aren't I? I know you've probably got a busy week of golf, Dave, haven't you? So obviously I know everybody's busy. Everybody's busy this week. So I thought we'll keep things lighthearted and talk about funny players that we've played with. And I think when I say funny, we need to differentiate because I think there's 3 types of funny. So I think there's the practical jokers, the standard football ones who cut your socks and all that sort of thing, like the elaborate pranks. Then I think there's the witty ones, the clever ones, who are funny, who are just like little one-liners and comments. Then I think there's also the funny ones who are the ones without being disrespectful. I think there's 2 short planks because like they can bring a lot of energy and a lot of fun to the dressing room. So obviously when you talk about funny, like there's 3 different people. I think most people go into most funny lads who I've played with probably go into one of those 3 camps. I don't know whether you 2 agree with that or not.
No, yeah, definitely. I agree. I think that's good. It's a really good summary of what a funny lad should be around a changing room.
So who wants to start us off then?
Go on, Dave. Give us a big hitter.
A big hitter? Well, I was thinking before about the clubs I've played for. I've probably got like a couple from each, but if I'm going for standout, funniest guy I feel I've met in football, it was later in my career at Shrewsbury, and it was Jason Cummins. I just loved being around him, mate. His energy was so good.
What category would he fall into there, Dave?
Honestly, I think he could be in every one. I think he's that guy.
He's sharp, but he's a practical joker, but he's a bit
sharp, but then he does some things that you're so stupid, mate. Yeah, so all of them, and he's easily led as well. Do you know what I mean? You could just give him a little nudge in the right direction, mate, and he'll be fully in on it. So I think he's got a bit of a reputation, Jace has, for being a bit of a lad. I don't know if you ever saw that video of him when he was at Peterborough, when he's smashing up an apartment. You have to YouTube it, and like it kind of went a bit viral on him. It's just the end of the night out, mate. He was in a rented apartment, mate. He's like chucking tellies off the wall and all sorts. But he was just loose, mate, and I reckon he was just getting pushed on. But off the back of that, he got like a really bad reputation, and I think it affected his football in terms of clubs that wanted to take him. But I just genuinely think that he was just misunderstood, because he's a really nice lad, a very good footballer, ridiculously good. Really should have had a top career, but then just naturally found he does stupid things. You probably, Shrewsbury fans listening, would have seen him when we got Liverpool in the FA Cup. Was it maybe, I think when we got Wolves or Liverpool in the FA Cup, and I was doing an interview for, I think it's Sky Sports News, because I was kind of more experienced one at the time. I was doing it at the training ground, and he comes out behind all the lads, obviously egged him on, and he's a massive fan of the Joker and Batman. But he came out in just his slips, sort of behind the camera, behind me. I can see him coming out the corner of my eye. I'm panicking because I'm there just talking about Jurgen Klopp and stuff like that. I can see him coming, and he's behind me. He does that Joker drop kick he does, but he's just in his sloggies, so just in his slips, mate. So we have to put a picture on of that, mate. He would just do stupid things like really brave. I think his funniest thing he does, mate, is, again, this is him getting egged on, very instinctive. When he was at Shrewsbury's board, him and Sean Goss, they went to Telford to the exotic zoo place, is it? Or not the exotic zoo, exotic pet shop or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And he bought an African tortoise. So he's taking it back. He's got a house in Radbrook, which he's rented. Starts to do a bit of research about these African tortoise. Lived to 75, so straight away it's going to outlive him. It can weigh up to 85 kilograms. Massive. Oh, wow. He's only a baby, got it as like a baby, so it's going to go absolutely huge. But also, their natural habitat is the Sahara Desert. So he had to spend he spent about 350 quid or something on the tortoise. And I think he must have spent close to £1,000 on just the equipment he needed to keep it warm enough. So he had like these big heat lamps that he had in his bedroom or in one of the rooms in Radbrook at his house. The heating was on full blast in there, mate. It had to be about 25 degrees. So this one room was like a sauna, mate. Called it Shelby. And then after a couple of weeks, you just knew he had just made a mistake. He lost it as well. So he lost it for a good 2 weeks.
It wasn't 85 kilograms when he lost it.
No. But we had a night game, and he came back on Tuesday night and he couldn't find it anywhere. Left it for a couple of days, and we all thought he just chucked that in the back. He'd had enough of it and just let it go, sort of thing. But
He's free.
Yeah. And then about 2 weeks later, it turned up. But in the meantime, he said he kept looking everywhere. He had a few of the lads around there. He was even looking in the attic. One of the boys said he went in there. He was in the attic looking for it. I don't know how his tortoise got there. But he turned up in his wardrobe in the end. And then on his final day, Jace, he was coming to the training ground to say goodbye to everyone. And his car is full of all his stuff. But in the front, in a box, in a seatbelt, is Shelby going back up to Scotland. But he was, just an absolute character, mate. Great lad. He's travelling the world now. I think he's playing in India. But yeah, I think he's probably my favourite, most fun lad I played with.
Yeah. I wonder if that counts against you, though, because he's got that reputation.
Massively, mate. Yeah.
Like being a practical joker, it sometimes can count against it because you think, is he going to be serious about his football, or is he going to be a bit loose? But I don't know.
I think
what about you, Gav? So.
I've had more practical jokers, really, and I suppose I've always tried to compete with them in a way. But like, I've had some I always think I was the first one that thought when you said about the subject, Sam, was Greavesy at Gainsborough. When you talk about someone who's so witty and just
he was really clever lad, wasn't he? Yeah,
really clever, like really sharp. In any moment, he could turn anything into a joke, you know. And what he was really clever with, I thought, he could turn something where he say something really witty that you would understand, but he would say it right in front of someone important like the manager who wouldn't understand. So you would burst out laughing and not be able to contain yourself, and he would be there with a straight face, looking at the manager, then looking at you and going, "Don't know what's the matter with him." So he could always land you in the shit. Like, he was just really clever, I thought. And he would like his go-to jokes, Sam, when it about like mortgage. You go, "What's that? Is that French? Is it? What's like what's that mean? What's that?" And we go, so the younger lads would be like, "You know, a mortgage." We go, "Don't know, I never had a mortgage." Or he'd say, we'd walk. I think we were walking into I can't remember where it was, where we played. We'd walked into the foyer of the reception of the ground. It was quite a nice ground, and he was like, "Oh, this reminds me of my the concierge of my house." Like, and then he'd go, "Oh, this is like the Westwood house," and stuff like that. And he was just so sharp all the time, Sam, wasn't he?
It's like people who hear those stories about cash, he's got to cashing people off. But real funny, it grieves you would always be like when we pull up in the car park. If you paid for your cars, park over there. Anybody's got on finance, you're over that side. And like, people would be offended by that, cashing people off. But like, I had like Dean Saunders would do that. Jason McAteer was another one. We'd be on the pitch, Tranmere, and someone would be like, "I'll smash your face in. I'll come around your house and smash your face." And I remember, I think it was Guy Branston said this to him once. He's playing for Tranmere, and McAteer just never stopped like chopping off and talking to everybody. And he'd be giving it all that to the fans when they'd be slagging him off and that. He'd be giving it all the money one. And one time, Guy Branston's like, "I'll come around your house and smash your face in." And Jason McAteer's gone, "Well, make sure your car's full of petrol because we drive's massive." You know, all them sorts of shouts.
Love it.
Dean used to love that.
Who did?
Dean Saunders.
Oh.
He said he had a service station on his drive.
Dean Saunders used to do it all the time. He'd drop his wallet when he's walking past and go, "Go try and pick that up, lads." I tell you, going through the floor and stuff like that. He said, I think it was like that. One of the best ones I heard for the cash one, for the money one, was actually cool. He gets a lot of stick for it. But some girl apparently said to him in the club, "You're a lot smaller than I thought." And he said, "Well, I'm a lot taller when I stand on my wallet." Them sorts of shouts cause a lot of offence, don't they, out of context? But we used to
in football, you know that's banter, don't you?
Yeah, it's just banter, isn't it? You just have that, and everybody would make jokes like that. But yeah, I used to love all those cash ones. We used to have at Newcastle, David Kelly. Then he came to Sunderland, and he obviously had a few quid. And I remember when he first signed, he's got on the bus, and he mustn't even have trained with us. He just got on the bus with Peter Reid and the whole Sunderland team. And he's got on, all young lads at the front, and he's gone, "Hello, peasants. Is this where the peasants sit?" Like all us young lads. Then he's walked to the back, and we had some music, Oasis or something on. He's like, "What is that?" on the bus. So he's walked down to the front of the bus. Bear in mind, none of the lads have ever met him before. He's walked down to the front of the team bus. We're playing away, wherever we were. He's took the CD out the front of the bus. We're away, so he's like, "Turn that off, rubbish." And he's just put on his own CD, like Genesis, I think it was. And he's just put his own CD, and he's just gone, and he's just started walking back to the bus. And he's winked at us on the way past and gone, "Ned's here now, lads. Anyway, see you later, peasants. I'll speak to you a lot later." And just walked to the back of the bus. And we were like,
brilliant.
And he's trained on the Monday. He's trained on the Monday, and Peter Reid's there tying his shoelace. Obviously, we're all quite deaf with Peter Reid. And David Kelly just walked over. You know when someone's tying their shoelace, bending down, he just nudged the gaffer, nudged him over. And we were like,
no.
Peter Reid's doing the shoelace. Peter Reid's just gone like that. I was like, see what David Kelly's just done, and he was only
taking that, mate.
It's like you say though, isn't it? It's like those ones there, him out of context. Like, people listening to this might think, "Oh, he sounds a bit arrogant, bit of an idiot," and that. But actually, in that world, it's just pure banter. It's pure character, isn't it? It's brilliant to have around the place to someone who's gonna, that bubble of uncertainty with some of the young lads, gets them involved. I used to. It's funny. I was talking to Gaz Dean and Jimmy Armisen, who have played for me. Gaz plays for me now, and Jimmy's just signed for Telford. And he's they were with me as young lads, and they came in spotty faces and that. And they said that I used to get the the control to the TV and point it at them and keep sort of almost going like, what's going on? Is there any volume to these two? Do they talk? Can you switch them on? And obviously, like, that'd sound a little bit bullying, really, wouldn't it, at the time? But they were like, we were just happy to be involved. Like, it was getting us involved in the group and the team and all of that sort of banter. And that was my intention, was to go, look, lads, you can be involved in this. Like, you know, you haven't got to be shy. But I love all that sort of banter. One of the best ones I had, honestly, one of the best, literally the best banter was a guy called, when I was at Canvey, a guy called Ben Chenery. And he literally have, like, you'd have to sit in like the rich corner of the changing room. You'd have to sit, you wouldn't be allowed to go into the changing room. If you had fines to pay, he'd be at the door and he'd get people to stand at the side of the door so you couldn't even go and change. He was just on it all the time. But it was like, he would never, like, no one ever felt degraded. No one ever felt as an outsider. I used to feel like it's funny because he played in my position, so I was always up against him like that. But I just thought he was quality. He's like, used to bring everybody together, all the young lads, the experienced lads, some of the arrogant lads in there who won a lot of money, you know, that were having themselves a little bit. He used to bring them down a peg or two as well, all just by controlling it with this hilarious, witty banter. Really remind me of Greavesy, Mark Greaves, Sam. He was just incredible. Like, I just couldn't believe how he could bring so many people together, and he could be in the tightest situation, and by using his vocabulary and his wit, he could get himself out of anything. And it was like real education for me watching him. He was quality.
Who else did from you, like a big hitter? Who was funny, like when you were at Wolves? Who made you laugh?
Sort of big hitters. So for Wales, he's again one of the funniest guys I've met, but not a practical joker. And it's hard to kind of say how he was funny, but just like you're saying with Greaves, he just witty, was Joe Ledley. Like, everyone absolutely loved him, mate. Just make everyone laugh, and I think his Welsh accent helps. But he was a real character. His dance moves and things like that. He was so like bold and brave, but unassuming at the same time. But any scenario, he would act with like real confidence, even though he wasn't the loudest. So he was good. And at Wolves, I think probably the funniest one at Wolves was Ben Marshall. Do you remember Ben? Who's Blackburn and things. I think he lives quite locally now. I think he's like out Newport way. But he used to just make me laugh, mate, because he was like one of the most talented footballers I've ever met, mate. Technically, he was a joke. His set pieces were unbelievable. But it's like he just couldn't be asked like all the time. He had a bit of a belly on him. You'd come in from training, mate, and he'd be sat in his sloggies again, like so in his little slips, just sat down. And most people, when they take their top off in the dressing room or sat down, you naturally just kind of like get your shoulders back, don't you? You brace yourself a little bit so you're not looking too soft or anything. He goes the other way. You kind of curl his shoulders over and you grab his belly. Have this big hairy chest and belly. You just grab his belly. How the hell am I playing the championship? You just start squinching his belly. He was funny, mate. But he again, he's another one who should have had an unbelievable career. He played at some really good clubs, but had the potential to play Premier League all his career. But he's retired now. And I was speaking to Harry Burgoyne, as an old Shrewsbury teammate of mine, and he said he FaceTimed him a couple of months ago, and he was in his local pub playing darts, and he has on his shirt Ben the Barrel, as his nickname, Ben the Barrel Marshall, and it was like the Nag's Head on the other side.
The sort of lads are on. It's like the Gaza, like we've mentioned before.
That's to remind us.
Practical jokes and being like sometimes not the brightest, but just being a bit loose and funny, brilliant addressing, but it can count against it, can't it? Those practical jokers, I think, a little bit, and get themselves in trouble.
Definitely. So we had
it at Shrewsbury when we had like Dunbavin and that stuff that we've mentioned loads of times on here, like mad practical jokes. But in the end, people are thinking like, is this kid ever going to be serious? He's got to play in goal for us on Saturday, and he's just constantly messing about, trashing the lads' rooms the night before and everything, doing whatever in shoeboxes and putting them under people's beds and stuff.
It's like, the ones you see with crazy ability though, where it does obviously affect their careers. Like I said about Jace, he was like super talented. Jason is probably the image he had outside of what he was massively affected his football, I would have said. And Marshy was the same. Just, I don't think he loved football that much. Marshy was just so naturally gifted, and you're thinking, how on earth are you not playing like top 6 in the Premier League? Because you could. And Paul Lambert would just take him everywhere and just stick him out on the left wing, and he would probably get 15 assists a season, but run about 15 kilometres over the season as well, and that was it. Mate, but yeah, proper character, mate. But they were definitely dying out of the game compared to obviously like you were talking about the lads at Shrewsbury. So when we first started, that was the norm. There was probably 7 or 8 of those lads in the dressing room who you were like just all the time, just thinking about pranks and having a laugh and going out drinking, all that sort of stuff. It's definitely kind of gone out the other side.
Even the practical jokes were in the dressing room, it just used to be standard. Like when I was at Tranmere, it was just standard every day, like DP in the shorts. Anybody who got injured, we had a massive bath at Tranmere. So anybody who ever got injured, like there's a couple of lads, like a couple of Scouts lads, Paul Linwood and Danny Harrison, like you knew if they were injured, you knew your pants, everyone's pants and socks were going in the big bath at Tranmere. Like, so you'd come in after training to you'd be like standard. Like, does that not happen anymore, do you think, Dave?
Not as much. I think it is.
Is Rodney not getting the lads' pants and socks and sticking them in the shower and that?
Yeah. It's more going the other way, like, again, at Wolves. I'm trying to think who it was now. A few of the boys had a little bit of... they were obviously good friends, but they kept, like, playing tricks on each other, and it would get, like, almost too far. They'd go out and their tyres would be down, or they'd be putting fish in there underneath the bonnet and things like that. And, yeah, that stuff still goes on. But I say more.
There's too many of those times to even mention, isn't there? Like the amount of things that used to go on. But I remember Fleetwood.
A lot of the stuff which happens in the dressing room as well, like we think is normal, but if it happens in the normal world, it'd be wow, like what is going on? I mean, that's
I'm not letting down anybody's tires.
Yeah.
I stick a fish in the at reception class's handbag. That's not that's not being well received. That I'm like, hey, a little bit of banter there, miss. No, I don't think that's
just grow a set, Sam, and do it. Just grow a set. I remember it's been dying out for a while though. I remember signing at Fleetwood and just being like almost like, there needs to be more of that going on here.
You used to look a practical joke, Gav, didn't you?
Yeah, no, I did, yeah. And I sort of almost used to yearn for it, I used to love all of that. And then even now, like being a manager, I find it's tough not to do it. I have to really manage myself to know when to say things, when not to say things. Like there'll be something on the tip of my tongue and I'll just be like covering my mouth, or I'll just have to walk away, or because I'm obviously in so much earlier than the players to prepare, and then I'll ordinarily leave a bit later. There's so much I could do, but obviously being a manager, you can't do it. But yeah, as a player, I used to love it. I used to love all of that.
It's crazy how childish though you get, isn't it? With it, obviously we all think it's dead funny, but again, the outsiders looking in, like every Wales trip, there'd be at least probably 3 or 4 times in the week where somebody would go and fill up like one of the paper bins up with water, lean it against your door. You open the door and the water comes in, and all those little things, which are just pointless. But the lads have a little camera phone set up and film you, and I think it's hilarious. But in any other walk of life, you think, what are you doing? You're 30 years old.
I won't say what. Yeah, it's just like hotels are the worst, aren't they? I won't say what, like, because I know some of my mates listen to our podcast, and like I won't say the club or what actually I did, but like in a hotel, we're playing Halifax the next day, and that was it. I was like suspended from the club for 2 weeks. 2 weeks' wages around Christmas, obviously not ideal, and you just think to yourself, why did I do that?
What did you do?
No, terrible. Like terrible.
Is it like
you gotta say no?
The dirty thing.
No, nothing like that. Nothing like that. It just being ridiculous, like pathetic, childish. That at the time, obviously, you've got one of your teammates who's your roommate. Basically, we'd gone down to dinner, and stupidly, my roommate had left our key on the side. So we've come back, and obviously can't find the room key. So we have to go to reception, get the room key, and I'm going to him. What have you done? What have you done? He said, no, I've just lost it. It's fallen out of my pocket. I went, no, it was on the table. Someone's had it away. No, Gav, honestly, I wouldn't let you down. Get back to the room. All bath's filled up. All of our clothes in the bath. Mattress, like, tipped over. Just, like, water, all the bottled water, like, kettle poured all over the bed, like, just destroyed. So, yeah, like, obviously, I've been slightly younger back then and couldn't let anyone over on me. So, yeah, it was pretty late at night, and we all got summons to a meeting. I think it was about 11 at night in the hotel, and just got read the right act, and it's like, hold your hand up. And I was like, yeah, but then the lads in the room didn't really own up, so I got the full brunt of it. So the next day I was sat in I was due to start, sat in a stand, on the way back. I got told if I wanted to make my own way home, I could, and I was like, well, I'm not going to do that. What was all that about? And then fined 2 weeks' wages, suspended from the club for 2 weeks, sent out on loan, and it's like you just look back and just go, like, why didn't I just accept it? My roommate had left the key, and that was ego. Just childish. But like back then, it's hot. I get, like you say now, in that context, it's childish, pathetic. Would never, even though those thoughts sometimes do go through your head, you don't do it. But there was always little bits, so it didn't feel like it was too extreme at the time because we were always doing something. Yeah. So, like, cutting someone's socks.
Everyone was doing it to everyone.
Yeah, so it's like when I sort of responded and retaliated, I didn't feel like it was too extreme at the time. And then you sort of sit back on the way back on the coach. Just been beat 2-0, you haven't got in the squad, you've just been told that you've got all of these repercussions and going, oh yeah, it was probably a little bit too far, really.
Lads thought you were funny though, didn't they? The lads,
I'll tell you now, right? They still talk about it now. They had a charity game that unfortunately I couldn't make in North London recently, and it was all over the chat, and they were talking all about it. They still talk about it now. So yeah, brilliant. I don't regret it, but
it's a way to get in with the lads, though, isn't it? It's not like. To get in with the lads, you've either got to be an unbelievable player, and then the lads will put up with whatever, or you be a laugh, don't you? If you're a laugh with the lads, like no one's bothered about what's happened Saturday. That's how you get in the group, isn't it? By being funny. So if you're witty, brilliant. But if not, you try and get on board and be stupid. Like it's the same as being a teenager, isn't it? You're trying to look for a bit of identity in the group.
That moment when you realise your key's gone or anything like, it's horrible, isn't it? Your gut just, oh no, something's happened.
I knew straight away, and he just kept going, no, and I knew straight away. I was like, oh mate, what have you done?
We used to all live together at in the academy at Shrewsbury at Wolford College. So we all the lads were in one thing. So that used to be carnage for like pranks and things like that. But we had the Yale lock, so a lot of the times you would kind of leave it on the latch because you didn't have your key on you and things like that, if you were just nipping out real quickly. And if you forgot to do it properly, you'd be gutted. You'd come back to your room, you'd walk in and there'd be nothing in your room. I mean, nothing, not one thing. You'd look out the window, mate, and your room is set up perfectly on the grass outside. Your bedside table, your bed, it's all made, everything, mate, wardrobe. All the hassle allows it. Local, I'd go home quite a bit. And I'd come back and no.
I love that though, because I love the detail. Like it's not just about trashing your room. Like we used to do it all the time. It's not even just about putting it outside. It's the fact you set it up perfectly outside as it will be. Like that's a proper practical joke, isn't it? Where they've actually gone to the they're the lads who are not just doing the practical jokes, but they're a little bit switched on, whereas actually quite bright and make it really funny as well. Just set it up identical with the bedside table and the bed made and everything like that. Perfect. I think I used to find the wittier ones were usually the older ones. That's probably the way it worked, didn't it? I think some of the wittiest ones I played with, like managers and physios, there was a bloke at Tranmere, Les Parry, became the manager for a little bit, like Scouser, like razor sharp wit. Remember one time I'd scored for Tranmere and I got a dead leg or something in the first half, and he was the physio. And he came running on the pitch, like, come on. And he was always messing about, like, when he's come on the pitch. And he's, like, grabbing my feet and, like, looking at my feet. And I'm like, what are you doing? It's my thigh. And he's just like, I'm just wondering whose boots you've got on, because I scored. I'm like, what are you doing? Like, get on with me legs. And one we've always mentioned here, Dave Cook. I know we've mentioned him a lot of times here, but assistant manager at Shrewsbury, like, razor sharp, wasn't he as well?
Amazing. Yeah,
we're still one of I think we've probably told us 1 million. Like that classic with Dave Walton as well, who was this experienced centre off, but he hadn't played for like 4 or 5 weeks. Big decision to leave out Dave Walton because he'd come from Derby, hadn't he? He had a big reputation. He'd come for money, and he wasn't getting picked, and it was really controversial. He was a big old lump, and he was getting really annoyed about it. I remember Cookie went up to him, and he was like, "Dave, you're involved today?" And he was like, yeah, like back in the fold and all that, brilliant. And he went, yep, you're doing the halftime draw. He's trying to fight it and everything. Like, oh, what? Like,
when you talk about then and now, like that could not happen now.
No.
That
you should do it. You should do it to one of the lads you're not picking. On a little challenge for you. On see you involved. One lad who haven't started the season.
It just wouldn't be able to happen. You'd lose the player. And then explaining it then to my CEO and my chairman.
HR.
Yeah, a little bit of banter.
Yeah, no, he's just a bit of a laugh and that. And I just spoke to him and just said, that, it just wouldn't work. It just couldn't happen now. The environment's just not the same. That is a really good example of how it's changed, because that could not happen now. No way.
You might have heard this Masseur mentioned from Sunderland, Mick Holland. He was one who used to sell loads of stuff and all that. He used to call it Harvey Mix. Then he used to sell all the gear to all the young lads. So we'd be young lads buying the wash bags and all that off him. And he famously was like a Masseur Sunderland for ages. Then Roy Keane came in as the Sunderland manager. I remember thinking at the time, going, "Oof, like he's not going to like make the Masseur," because he was like full of like pranks and messing about. And he got sacked because before the game, he used to play ABBA before the game, like at Sunderland. He used to play like "You Can Dance," like at like 10 to 3 in the dressing room, like all banter. And like he played that once, and Roy Keane was like, "Who is this? Like, what is this?" And he's like, "What?" And he's going to all the lads, "Why are you letting the Masseur run this dressing room?" And he got sacked from Sunderland, and I think he's at West Brom now, I think. But like, them sort of characters, you think they're always just, that's why they're funny, because they're on the edge.
Yeah.
Like always on the edge where you're going, "Oh, I don't know whether you can get away with that." I think that Dave Cook at Shrewsbury is one of our funniest though, Dave, wasn't he? He's like a funny man, he was.
Definitely. Out of like all the big clubs now, obviously we don't know anyone inside them. Who comes across to you as a bit of a joker? You think of like in that Liverpool dressing room, United dressing room, things like that.
Do you know what on that, Dave? Do you know what always surprises me? Because I think it's hard to judge, isn't it, when you look from the outside? Because like I never really realised, obviously they have all this media training now, don't they? So like I always remember Michael Owen. I always used to look at him and just think, "Oh, he's a bit boring, isn't he?" Like, he just says the same things over and over and over and again. And but apparently he was like really like hilarious in the changing room, practical joker, really witty. Like there's all them stories that come out about him, like from fellow players and that. And you think, really? And obviously Wayne Rooney. Always used to come across as a little bit thick, really, to me. But obviously they've had this media training, and obviously that's a time for them to be professional. But he was a nightmare, wasn't he? And like I've heard him recently on the Overlap and that. He was a nightmare in the changing room. So I think it's hard to tell from the outside, really.
They're being a bit more clued up though, aren't they? Like they're playing with a straight back, don't they? So they don't get themselves in trouble. But that's why you don't get good interviews with anybody, do you? Like, anymore. Those, very rarely you interview any of the lads after the game. It's
Ian Holloway. No Ian Holloway.
I'll tell you who's, like, you talk about being funny, who was really sharp. Like Sean Dyche, who was at Northampton. He was quite funny. Like, he was an intense fella, but like really sharp and wittiness. He would always have his top off, like complaining about the heat on the bus and his ginger hairy chest out, going, "Flipping that drive, throw another log on all the time."
You didn't get a chance to see him on Saturday then, Sam, after the game?
Oh, no. Well, I texted him about coming on ages ago. I texted him about coming on. I don't know if it was definitely his number. I texted him saying, "Do you want to come on the podcast?" And he never got back to me. No reply. On big time now, ain't he, as well?
No reply.
Yeah, no reply. Yeah. Anybody got anybody else?
You think back, just to finish, like you think back in the day, there was like some worldies, weren't there? When you think about like the practical, like what the Wimbledon changing room would have been like, and Gaza and stuff like that. Like you can't even get your head around it, can you? So think how, like for me, I've experienced some real funny characters, but that just must have been another level.
But I can't imagine it was any worse than what was like at Shrewsbury. People like Luke Rogers and that. Like I've told you that story about Luke put my number in the paper and said white transit van to sell, nearly new, £1,000, and put my name in, and like I was getting 1 million phone calls all day. But, "Hey mate, you still got that white van?" and he used to order skips to the lads' drive. He ordered a clown to turn up at one of the lads' houses and that. So this clown's turned up, and he's like, "I'm here for the party." And he's like, "Oh, I think you made stitch me up." The clown started kicking off about it. Like I can't imagine it was anybody worse.
I don't know. Like what where were Spurs when Gazza was there in terms of tabling? What, like a top 6, top 8 team?
Yeah.
Very similar to what they are now. Imagine, like, I don't know, James Madison turn up training with an ostrich, because didn't he have an ostrich and take it and start running around with it and stuff like that?
We had another person. We had at Sunderland. We had Paul Stewart, who was really, really sharp, and Gazza loved him just because Gazza was a practical joke, and Paul Stewart was good mates with him at Tottenham. And Gazza was like being ridiculous, and Paul Stewart would be just loading bullets from all the time and that.
Yeah.
And so you think someone like them together, you just think, oh, brilliant. That's why as well, if you're quite sharp and clever, and you get someone who's not the brightest or something,
you're flying.
It's like absolute happy days, isn't it?
No, brilliant. Love that.
Anybody else want to give a mention to?
No.
Not that I can think.
50 minutes in. That's good for us.
Right, we've done 50 minutes there. Have we had any feedback about doing this in this way from the listeners? It was reasonably positive, was it, last time? Did people... I suppose people don't know the difference if you just listen on the podcast, aren't they? So does it make a difference?
I don't like it as much. Sorry.
Okay.
No, me either. I'm not as big a fan.
We're going to try and meet in person anyway, aren't we? But this is just because of my work commitments, Gav being manager of Brackley and Dave's golf. We haven't got. It's difficult, isn't it, to fit it all in, isn't it?
Yeah.
And Gav and Dave's lunches that they have when I'm not around, that don't tell me about.
But we've got some exciting stuff coming up, haven't we, lads? For the next series and a few nights planned and stuff like that. So we're really going to start to ramp it up, especially next year, aren't we? So we'll keep going for a little bit, and then it'll be, I think it'll be our best season yet after that, won't it, with the plans we got?
Well, we're going to
100%.
We're going to do another episode or two, aren't we? Then we're going to wrap it up, and then we're going to make sure we get some top guests lined up, a couple of events, and we're going to get a bit of sponsorship and stuff, aren't we? Hopefully, and a few things lined up, aren't we?
All exciting, isn't it? I want it to hurry up and start announcing it. I'm excited.
Can listeners as well give us some ideas for any guests that they would like on as well? Like, I don't know what I mean. There's quite a few we could probably get. We can't get Pep Guardiola, can we?
Not until he's finished at City. No.
Until he's finished at City. It's hard to get current players, isn't it? And to be honest, current players as well. It's not always ideal, is it? Because they're always a little bit reluctant to share things, aren't they?
Yeah. Well, now we can do this, lads. We'll have to get Jason Cummings on, won't we?
Yeah.
The world, do it online. Then we should get Jason on.
That'd be unbelievable.
Because we have driven all over the country, haven't we, previously to go and see people and face to face, which is better. But we'd be able to do some of these, I reckon.
Yeah.
So we think further afield, can't we now?
Yeah. And also any questions as well that anyone has, because we always finish off the series, don't we, with a Q&A. So that'll be one of our last episodes. So any questions that anyone has, please make sure you send them in. They're always quite fun, aren't they? Because we get them all printed off. We don't know what the questions are going to be. So yeah, that'd be good. So send them in through our social media channels.
Yeah, definitely. It's been some really good interaction on the social media, people messaging in and asking questions and commenting on the posts and all that. It's been really good.
There can be fitness-related questions, can't they? Questions about beers as well. We're covering a range of topics, aren't we?
100%.
We're becoming like experts in like a lot of fields, aren't we?
Yeah.
I'd use the term expert slightly loosely, but I think we're definitely breaching some of the subjects.
What would you say is our specialist subject in the Stiffs? What are we most knowledgeable about?
Knowledgeable. Unprofessional.
We don't want to say fitness, do we? I think that's probably been we're probably overstating our knowledge a little bit with that.
Life coaching, probably not quite there yet.
Not quite. Well, okay, speak for yourself.
Not quite there for some. I would say
lower league football 15 years ago. my special. I was on Mastermind. Lower league football 15 years ago
Yeah, very niche. Very niche, but
Or
we are TikTok.
Or Danish goalkeepers 95 to 2010.
Yeah,
Real strength.
yeah, real strength. We're very good at very niche subjects.
Yeah.
I think.
Right.
Technology not being one of those.
Well done on the dress code as well. All black, is it? So I've gone for like white bits at the top there, but all black.
Yeah,
that was that's good. Like ninjas.
Yeah, feel like milk tray. 3 milk tray men.
Thanks for listening, everybody. Yeah, leave us some comments or questions. We'll probably do one more. Then we'll do one more episode, will we? And then we'll get loads of questions and we'll answer them. And it can be about anything.
Yeah.
Right. Nice one. Have a good weekend, lads. I'm back at work now.
Good week, everyone. Good to speak to you.
Laters.